What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 7, episode 11, and the episode is titled Two Truths and a Lie. Let's jump right into the review. So, first things first, you already know we have Mercedes and Sue Ann. They are on the bottom. And one thing that annoyed me was the fact that when it came to Mercedes, what they had to say about her was that she gives off homie vibes, and also because she has friend zoned some people. I said, well, what else was she supposed to do at this point in the competition? Like, I really hate that they have to say, their reasoning because that made no sense to me. But in the end, Miss Susu was actually let go. And I was like, okay, cool. So when it's time for the guys to go home, we already know that it's going to be Blake because he ain't got no connections there. And nobody checking for Blake besides Susu. Did we get a self-elimination right then and there? No, we did not. For some reason, Blake was still hanging around at the damn house, eating up the food and participating in activities. So I just want to talk about this quick little scene because we have Morgan in the kitchen. She's cooking with, I want to say Cynthia maybe. And Tony says, oh, what y'all cooking? Or whatever. Oh, we making some pasta, blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, I like to eat. You know I like to eat, baby. And he says that to Morgan. And I'm like, that was absolutely a sexual reference. I feel like these two have smashed for sure. And I feel like he mentioned that because Lyndon was not far away. So she goes on to tell him about himself, how he missed out on a few whoopings when he was a child, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that. Here's the thing. You have Lyndon chiming in his confessional about how Tony is the reason why Morgan is so distant from me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Lyndon, here's the thing. And the connection has always been Tony and Morgan, regardless of him being a hothead or, them having their ups and downs. It has always been him for her. You were just used as a pawn. She just liked to use you and throw you in Tony's face to make him jealous. Like, you should be seeing her for her true colors at this point. Because now she ain't giving you no play and she's still playing in Tony's face. So honestly, you did that whole reveal about Marcia for nothing. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, so first we get this conversation with Cynthia and Andre. Honestly, I feel like, yeah, this was a good run for them, but no. I feel like he has already chosen Jeffrey. I really do. I feel like he is head over heels for Jeffrey. And when it comes to Cynthia, she's a great lady, so you can't deny that, but I just don't see the match at all. Oh, but let me go ahead and jump on over to Mercedes though. I have so much respect for Mercedes because what she did was have an honest conversation with Anthony, where she basically told him, you are so established and I'm not there yet. I don't even know if I'm ready to be a stepmother. I don't know if I can be that person. Technically, I'm more like a liability, aka she's still growing as a person and she's just not where she thinks that she needs to be to fully be in a relationship with Anthony. And honestly, I can respect that because y'all already know how this show goes. For some reason, people refuse to have the hard conversations, and she is willing to do it. She is willing to say, nah, I can't move forward with this person. No, I'm no longer interested in this. Like, she's very honest. And Anthony appreciates that. And I said, you know what? It's crazy how Anthony came in the door with 3 connections. And oh, how quickly it has dwindled to 1. So I do think that when you look at Mercedes and Mark Anthony, though, that they are more so aligned. Like they're still in their early 30s. They are still figuring out their careers and what they really want to do. Like they're just more aligned. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, so now we have Anthony have a conversation with Cynthia while he's at the pool. And honestly, those two seem like they are on the same page to me. They seem like they're more aligned. They talk about their other connections and how things are going with that. And as we already know, Anthony, his connections have dwindled while, according to Cynthia, she still has these feelings for Andre. I don't know if it's reciprocal, girl, but she still has these deep feelings for Andre. Now, at one point, this man turns around and, gets out of the water and like hugs her, starts kissing her. And I'm just like, see, y'all looking like a couple. Y'all are out here looking like a couple. Um, if I was my vote, I would say Cynthia should choose Anthony over Andre. All right, y'all. So now we have this scene with Blake, right? It's basically Blake deciding that he's going to go home and saying his goodbyes because he has no other connections. You guys have done it. He is finally going home, even though we only have, one more episode. But yeah, I'm actually surprised that Blake has made it this far. But yes, Baby Boy is deciding that he's going to go home. Or should I say, he's going to go talk to Tommy. Y'all know that nigga go home. All right, so next thing you know, they actually get a package delivered, and it lets them know that they're going to make candles for their connections, right? Cute idea. Except for the fact that some people have multiple connections. Now, for some reason, we had the team of Tony, Jeffrey, and Anthony. When I tell you I was hollering when Tony was just doing things clearly, practically trying to set the place on fire. I had the thing all smoky. I was like, what is happening? And Jeffrey wasn't no help either. I was like, Anthony is the only one who knows what's going on. Clearly. And also, I can understand why. When you think of these three people, Anthony is the smartest one in the group. Now, since Tony is outside doing his thing with the candles, Morgan decides that she's going to go have a chat with Lyndon. Now, in the confessional, Morgan says that the only thing that she's conflicted on is Lyndon's age and his lifestyle. And I'm like, those were the only two things that conflicted you? Okay, girl. Because I just feel like there's more than that. Like, I don't think she really likes Lyndon. She thinks that he's an attractive man for sure. And she knows that Lyndon likes her. But I just feel like she has just used this man as a pawn this entire time. Now, when they start talking about, how each other are doing and how, the dinner went, Lyndon says, I saw that the dinner would go that way, but I didn't think it would be me. Like, nigga, you the one who stirred it up. How did you not know it would be you? So, Morgan's response says, oh, but it was hot. As in, you liked the fact that these men were arguing over you. You thought it was hot. You thought it was tempting that Lyndon was, going at Tony. Girl, you like conflict. You like problems. Because nothing about that was hot at all. But then again, she felt the same way when they were playing that pool game. Like, she did not say that it was hot as in that situation was touchy, that situation was, too much. No, she was saying hot as in attractiveness. And I'm like, girl, it's something wrong with you. Now, y'all, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what has happened on this show because I feel like there's some missing pieces. Because when Linda decides to tell her what he's feeling, he's like, I feel like you treated me a certain way because you were scared to hurt Tony. And here's my thing. I feel like we saw those two have a lot of interactions, at least from what my perspective is. I feel like we saw Morgan and Lyndon have a lot of, time together, and Tony would just get upset about it, but she would still go back and be with Lyndon. And I'm just like, well, if that's the case, I feel like your feelings is really hurt because you thought that once you dropped that bomb on her, she will automatically come to your side, and that's not what happened. And also for Morgan to sit up there and say, I can't put energy into two people at the same time, girl, I'm giving you a side eye. Because at the end of the day, look around. You see everybody was putting energy into two people at the same time. Maybe instead of always whining and crying to Cynthia, you should have asked her for some advice. How are you balancing, talking to Anthony as well as talking to Andre? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Especially for us to get to this point, for you to say, I can't, manage having both of y'all. Well, girl, you couldn't manage to have both of them earlier in the season, but you tried to because you knew that if you make Tony jealous, it's just going to make him come for you harder. And unfortunately, Lyndon, you just ended up getting the shortest end of this stick when it comes to this situation. Like, after this conversation, if I was Lyndon, I would have walked away. I would have been like, okay, clearly she still wants to entertain Tony. I'm not about to fight for this anymore. I'm going to self eliminate. That right there, that should have happened. But no, he ends up telling her how, Tony isn't good for her. Do I think that Tony is good for Morgan? No, because I feel like they're the same person. Tony and Morgan are the exact same people. So when they fight and they, go at each other, it probably blows up and magnifies times 10. Because let's not forget, like I said in my previous reviews, there have been times where Morgan has told Tony, you need to clean this up. You need to check this. You need to do this. And even the way she talks to Tony, you're acting like this. You're a child. You didn't get enough spankings. Like, she talks to him in a very demeaning way as well. And then when we come to Tony, he feels like he's a man and whatever he says goes. So honestly, they're not a match at all. But if I was Lyndon, I would just mind my own business and walk away from this entire situation. Because Morgan still wants Tony to fix the mess that he made. All right, so now we get to Morgan trying to make these candles. But baby girl is emotional. She starts to cry because she realizes that she's hurt Lyndon's feelings. And I'm just like, yes, somebody's feelings were definitely going to get hurt, especially considering you know that you like Tony more than you like Lyndon. Secondly, she feels like Tony has embarrassed her, and it makes her look crazy because she still wants to be with this man. So she ends up leaving to go clean her face, and Cynthia goes to check in on her. And of course, she talks about how, she's hurt Lyndon or whatever, and she didn't realize like it would hurt her so much that, he's going through this. And I'm just like, it's funny that you're saying this, but when you were going in on Tony on the last episode about how, he can support Jeffrey and her making a decision, but when it comes to his own situation, he's doing this and doing that. But what he said actually applies to this situation. Tony told Jeffrey, somebody's going to get their feelings hurt, but at the end of the day, this is love, and you have to go with who you are feeling the most. Well, this definitely applied to this situation. Morgan, somebody's feelings are going to get hurt, but you have got to make that decision because at the end of the day, the ball is in your court. Now, one thing about Cynthia, baby, she is going to support you. She's going to give you great advice. She is clearly a good friend to have because she does tell Morgan, like, listen, Tony has already given y'all these red flags, girl. But again, you still have to watch how he treats you when he's mad. And also, you don't have to make a decision right now. Now, Morgan does not need to make a decision right now. However, time is ticking when it comes to her. Just because I feel like this situation has gotten to a level where she needs to make that decision. Because with both of these men, either she gonna end up with none because they both fed up with her, or she can go ahead and choose who she want to be with. Because nobody else is having these same issues like this group is having. So now we see Tony, he ends up coming into the kitchen and he talks to Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony lets him know, like, oh yeah, your girl was over there crying. So Tony decides to go check on Morgan, right? Here's my thing, you guys. When it comes to Tony and Morgan, I think that they both don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know where to meet each other and be nurturing when it's time to be nurturing. Because when he came in, he said, hey, what's going on? This woman has clearly been crying. And she's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. So he's like, really? And I feel like his really was like, are you really fine? Or are you just saying that so that you can shoo me away? And she was like, really what? I said, see, here we go. Y'all don't match each other's energy where you need to be. Because that triggered her to have an attitude. So now he's not even interested in the conversation anymore because you basically done shut him down. So he walks out. And here's my thing. What could have happened in that moment, honestly, is Tony should have went back in there to be like, you know what, I'm not about to leave you. What is going on? What is happening? Because I don't even know, unless they chopped it up. I don't even know if she ever even said, I just had a conversation with Lyndon. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this. I don't think that these two people know how to communicate. They know how to boss each other around and tell each other what they want from each other, but they don't know how to take care of each other. So they honestly do not need to be together. So at this point, Tony, he goes to go talk to Andre, and he's like, what is she upset about? What is she crying over? Because I guess she never even told him what happened. And Andre's like, I think she's just overwhelmed with, having to choose between both of these men. Listen, that is not good enough for Tony, because he's like, why this girl crying for 2 hours over this man when you already know what our connection is, and you know that your connection with Lyndon ain't that strong. According to Tony, he feels like, she could be sorting out her feelings, but also he sees that she enjoyed having two men fight over her. I agree. I think that Morgan absolutely enjoyed seeing these two men fight over her until it got to the point where it embarrassed her. And that is where her feelings are stuck, because she never thought that they would embarrass her in the way that they did. Because honestly, as much as she says that Tony embarrassed her, girl, Lyndon is the one who put the information out, so he got to take some heat too. Um, when it comes down to her being emotional about this entire process, I do feel like Morgan is trying to figure out what looks best for her in this situation. Because, yes, she has this connection with Tony, right? But to the world, as well as to all her castmates, it looks crazy if she decides to choose Tony. But you have Lyndon on the other hand, and she ain't really feeling Lyndon like that. But it would look better if she chose Lyndon. Y'all, this is all some foolishness. Oh yeah, y'all, I just want to point this out real quick. It annoys me that Andre, he keeps making reference to Mercedes as if they still have some type of connection. Because they were grouped together to do the little candle thing or whatever. And he's like, because Mercedes, we had our little issue back. Sir, why do you keep doing that? I get it. You had your issue to where she did not call you when you were sick. Get over it. She's not even interested in you. Move on. Because he did the same thing when they were fighting over the rooms. Now he's done it in this scene. Andre, get over yourself. So the group decides to hang out, throw some pajamas on, and then they're going to go over their candle situation. Who's not there? Tony. I'm like, great. Go sleep, old man. So he in the room sleeping. And one thing that I wanted to point out, I don't know why they was hyping up Jeffrey just because she had that little pink robe with the feathers on it. I'm like, she didn't even have like no cute pajamas. Honestly, the only one whose outfit was real cute was Mercedes. But let's go ahead and move on and get to these candles. Um, First things first, Jeffrey. I know you did not call Andre your biblical husband. Your biblical husband, girl. What was that? And if that's the case, Mark Anthony, you don't need to pay attention to her no more. Speaking of him, he decides to go ahead and give his little brown sugar thing her candle, and that would be Mercedes. Oh, baby, you already know. Jeffrey did not like that at all. Y'all see the face. Y'all saw the face that she made. I said, sis, you are so envious of other women when these men like them. Your face says it all. Because it has always happened whenever one of the ladies would talk about their connection, she would always make a face if it's with the same guy that she's interested in. But anyways, Mercedes ends up giving Mark Anthony his candle. It was very nice and sweet. Now, of course, we have Cynthia and Anthony. They exchanged candles. It was really cute the way they did it because, they talked about what the colors meant. And then Cynthia was like, yeah, I put coffee in here because I want to wake up to you every morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is really cute to say, like, for real. Did y'all catch ultimate hater Jeffrey say, oh, I don't understand what's happening. There's another one for Dre. Girl, you already knew that Dre had another connection. Don't play in Cynthia's face like this. Don't be that girl. Especially considering you've seen him talk to Cynthia while you were there. Talking about, I don't understand why. Jeffrey, stop being a hater. Now, I did find it interesting that when it was Andre's turn, he gave Cynthia hers first, and then he said to my second connection, Jeffrey. I'm like, sir, you know you feeling Jeffrey more. But I will say that I'm pretty sure Jeffrey felt some type of way that she got her candle second. And when you think of the things that Cynthia and Andre said to each other, I just feel like that should have been the end. That was the words that was, we cool as friends. I like you. You know what I mean? We gonna be homies forever. But we have already chosen other people. Now let's get to Lyndon. So the one that he actually made for Morgan had two flames because she has two options. I was like, you know what? Now you're trying to be funny, Lyndon. And it is pretty funny. Because he was like, yeah, just go ahead, like, just one of them. Just one. So then they get to the last candle. And of course, it's the one from Tony, y'all. It had a bug in it. And unfortunately, seemed like it didn't have no candle in there. Now, what got me was the fact that I did not see Morgan give Lyndon a candle. Maybe because she cried the whole time, so her candle didn't set. I don't know. Y'all, then they ended this off with them having a little dancery or whatever. And I'm just like, ugh, I cannot stand when these TV shows make these people dance because it be looking so empty, especially considering it's only 4 couples now. It's kind of weird. But let's move on. All right, so it's the next morning. Everybody's getting ready to leave, and we get this conversation with Morgan and Tony. First things first, she starts off the conversation by saying, oh, it seems like you don't have a sticky ass anymore. I'm like, okay. That's how we're going to start this conversation. So within this conversation, she lets this man know that he's a wild card to her, and basically he needs to show and prove that he really wants to be with her. Now, at one point, she ends up asking him if he can be the man that she needs in her life. Y'all, this man sold her on the idea of him being spiritual, him being a protector, and a provider. Y'all, they have not even been together to prove that this man can be a protector, a provider, or if he's even spiritual. Y'all been to church together yet? Y'all having Bible study over the phone? What's going on? Please let me know. Because I don't know if God really in this. Y'all two together? That's too much fire. Look like hell. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, y'all, why did we get this scene? Because we have Tommy meeting up with Blake just so that we can, see him off, so that way he can officially go home because, you have to meet with Tommy first before you decide that you're no longer in the competition. Whatever. That's all this scene was. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so now we have Mercedes and Mark Anthony. They're on this cute little date or whatever. They play two truths and a lie. And honestly, I think that they are a match. Here's why. Because I think that they are at each other's level as far as where they are in life. He's still trying to figure out if he want to do the whole pilot thing. She's trying to figure out where she stands, as a flight attendant. Does she want to do the pilot thing? These two are still young. They're still discovering who they are. I don't know. I just feel like they're a better match than when I see him with Jeffrey. So in this conversation, Mercedes does ask him, what is he looking for? Is he looking for a long-term relationship? Just something to do? Like, what is he looking for? And he does say that he's looking for a serious relationship. And that was good enough for her to feel like she is actually solidified in something when it comes to Mark Anthony. But according to Mark Anthony, as much as he is drawn to Mercedes and how he really likes her, there's still something about Jeffrey. I feel like after next episode, he should definitely know which way he's swaying. So now it's time for the ladies to meet in the lounge, and Tommy lets them know that, Blake decided to go ahead and go home. Now, Jeffrey in the confessional is like, Blake going home, that's such a cop-out. I'm just like, is it though? Because he had no other women, no other connections. Is it that you're saying this because he didn't want to get sent home by the women? When I feel like he would have been fine. Because baby boy has been in the bottom almost every week. I don't think it would have changed his perspective or trajectory at any given point if y'all would have sent him home versus him deciding to go home. All right, so you have Cynthia saying how, she told herself that she wasn't going to kiss anybody unless the person was the one for her. And who did she kiss? She kissed Anthony. I said, okay, great. The decision has been made. We get to Mercedes. She actually let Cynthia know, like, at one point I had a connection with Anthony, but he deserves someone who knows 110% that that's who they want to be with. And I see something when I see those two together. Again, much respect for Mercedes because Jeffrey would never. Now, this was the one up that Jeffrey likes to do, y'all. So Cynthia's like, but I still have these feelings for Dre. I've opened up to him. So I made him a candle as well. And here goes Jeffrey. Oh, yeah, because, when it comes to Andre, that's like my biblical husband. We just connect on such a deep level. Blah, blah, blah. Bye, Jeffrey. Goodbye, girl. So, of course, Jeffrey talks about how, things with Mark are cool as well. And then Mercedes goes on to say how, it just fits more for her to go ahead and go with Mark Anthony. It more aligns with who she is at the moment and how she's growing and healing. And then we get to this confessional with Jeffrey talking about how, both of my connections, they have other connections, but I'm very competitive, so I'm going to win. I said, so are you going to win both of these men's hearts? Jeffrey, sit down somewhere. Now we get to Morgan. She says that Tony has always been, her top connection, but, Lyndon has been her safe space, right? I said, oh, I see what Morgan was trying to do. Y'all, I think that Morgan thought because Blake went home, she was still going to be able to figure out or attempt to figure out who she wants to be with. And these men will last for the next episode. But ha ha, joke's on you because they had something else under their sleeve, okay? Now, when it comes down to who needs to go home, although they say whoever they say, I respected what Cynthia had to say because she says Lyndon because I'm tired of seeing him get hurt. Like, he's a good dude, and he's literally watching the girl that he wants to be with choose another guy. Okay, she didn't say all that, but that's pretty much what's happening. All right, so when it comes to Morgan, she says that, she wants to give Tony a little bit of grace because, yeah, what he said was embarrassing, but at the same time, this is an unorthodox situation. And I will say this is not how regular dating goes, considering y'all done group these people together and all of this stuff. So if you want to give this man grace, fine. Who am I to stop you? But here goes Tommy. Well, how many red flags did he got? I said, well, shit, how many red flags did Morgan got? Because she got a few too. Now, she says that the issue with Tony is his temper and the communication skills. And then when it comes to Lyndon, this man works in a nightlife. He has a lifestyle that she says that she's not with yet. I said, why did you say yet? As if now you about to start going out to the clubs with him or something. And also, the issue with Lyndon is that he suppresses his emotions and he didn't let her know how he really felt until this weekend. Now that makes me question what have y'all conversations been about this entire time? Because if he's just now letting you know how he's feeling about you or whatever, what have y'all been talking about? Because we see, whenever we would see her and Tony, they would talk about how they like each other, they want to be with each other, blah, blah, blah. And then when you compare the conversations with that versus her conversations with Lyndon, they was practically talking about how the weather is good outside. Again, you were not really interested in this man. So Morgan feels like she needs to allow Tony to redeem himself, and she also needs to allow Lyndon to basically prove that he the man for her. Sweetheart. Tommy tells her, girl, you gonna go ahead and take Lyndon out, and then you gonna make your decision. So we not about to have you at the end of the show trying to figure out what man you want. Sorry. Now let's go ahead and go to this conversation between Morgan and Lyndon. All right, so within this conversation between Morgan and Lyndon, first things first, they started off talking about Tony. I'm like, why? Why are we still talking about Tony? This whole conversation should have been about y'all and y'all relationship. Tony shouldn't have even been a factor at this point because the conversation about Tony should have been closed when y'all had that conversation when he was playing pool. Not the first time they ever played pool against each other. I'm talking about when she went to go see Lyndon on this episode. Why are we still talking about him? And then Morgan says that, this was her first time really seeing Lyndon. And I'm just like, well, girl, what was you doing this entire time? Like, y'all were really having just surface conversations, weren't y'all? And then for them to go back and talk about Tony a little bit more, I was over it. Because, she mentioned how he's a protector and provider. And she asked Lyndon, like, do you think that you're the man that I need in my life right now? And he said no. I said, well, what the fuck are we doing? Why did y'all waste all of our time? I'm so sick of y'all. This was the group of I want to make it to the end by any means necessary. Like, I just feel like nobody's having real conversations about what they can actually do for each other. For example, Mercedes, I will give her all the credit because she knew walking into a relationship with Anthony, it looks very different than what it would look like if she was to be with Mark Anthony. When it comes to Anthony, this man, he already got his life in order. The man is a homeowner. The man, he has his career. He has a daughter that he's providing for. And if you're coming into that situation, you have to be ready to, number one, be willing to learn how to be a kind of step parent. You honestly have to learn how to adjust to his lifestyle because he already kind of set in stone. You know what I'm saying? But then you have people like Morgan and Lyndon where they lifestyles don't align. He doesn't want to be married within 2 years. He also probably don't want to have kids within 2 years. So what was we doing? Oh, right. Wasting all of our time. Just great. Oh, so how do we end this, you guys? We end this with Morgan finally giving oh boy a kiss. I said a kiss goodbye? Really? Y'all, I'm so ready for these people to get off my TV. I promise that I'm so ready for it. That was pretty much the end of the episode. Next week, the guys are going to be introducing the ladies to their family, and we shall see what happens with that. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.